This is an interesting journey. The older I get, the more I realize I don't know. And every once in a while I think, God, and He'll take me through a season where I think, what can I teach on today? What can I preach on this Sunday? And I just come up with the same old, not same old things, but the same things. But that's what preaching is. It's a going over it, going over it, going over it. And I quote my father, who I remember complaining to him a couple of times, saying, God, Dad, it just feels so repetitive sometimes in the pulpit. And he'd quote that scripture in James, the man that looks intently in the mirror and forgets what he looks like as soon as he looks away. He says, don't just read something and deceive yourself, do it. And he said, when they start living it, you can stop preaching it. When I start living it, I can stop preaching it. Turn in your Bibles to Exodus chapter 33. I have a testimony for this morning. But as I prayed, I don't want you to be distracted by the testimony, because it's a good one, it's exciting, it's a new season for me. But I want you to follow me on the journey, on the spiritual journey that goes along with my testimony, because I'm learning, Crystal and I are learning to walk with God, to acknowledge Him in all of our ways. Exodus 33, verse 14 to 16. 15 is actually my target, 15, 16, but when I saw verse 14, I thought, you know what, that's interesting. It starts with the Lord. The Lord replied to Moses, my presence will go with you, and I will give you rest. Then Moses said to him, if your presence does not go with us, don't send us up from here. How will anyone know that you are pleased with me and your people unless you go with us? What else will distinguish me and your people from all the other people on the face of the earth? There's a whole bunch of layers to that. First of all, God starts with saying, hey, Moses, I'm going to be with you. And I think it just triggered something in Moses where he went, you mean there'd be an option for you not to come with us? And so after God saying, I'm going to go with you, Moses immediately goes, whoa, if you don't, we're done. And then you see the layers. I want people to know that I'm attached to you and that you're pleased with me. And that's a life well lived. I want people to know that I'm proud of you. I walked into a wedding. I did a wedding at the Links, and I have my suit on and everything. And then I always bring my Bible, whether they want a Christian wedding or not. Guess what? They're going to get what I give them. And I'm walking, all these people, there's a smoking section, there's a drinking section, and all there's before the ceremony. And I walk in, not like this, but like this. Not like this, just this. And I want people to know that God and I are joined together. What else will distinguish me and your people from all the other people on the face of the earth? This will. And that pride of being a Christian, of Christians are being persecuted, and there's a lot of people offended by Christianity, and social media has really expounded, it has really magnified that. But we still need to be proud to be a Christian, follower of Jesus Christ. And Jesus said, if you acknowledge me before people, I'll acknowledge you before my Father. But if you deny me before people, I will deny you before my Father.
Right.
There's nothing in between. Because he also said, I'd rather you be hot or cold. He'd prefer you to be just gone than to be lukewarm. Because that's too confusing for people. You claim to have Jesus, but you live that way? That's too confusing. And not only, like people need to see your confidence. Not cockiness, confidence. And when everybody else is scrambling, they need to see you stable. In the workplace, when everybody's complaining, oh no, did you hear there's cutbacks? They need to see you go. Everything happens for a reason, and I know who holds. I don't know the future, but I know who holds me. And they need to know that, because if Jesus does not make a difference in a life, why would people want him? If they don't see a difference in you, that you having God in your life distinguishes you from everybody else, you're a peculiar person, why would they take on the disciplines of Christianity if it doesn't make a difference? They need to see your peace and your joy and your hope. Regardless, they need to see you affecting your environment in a positive way instead of the environment affecting you when it's affecting everybody else. If your presence does not go with us, I'm not going.
Right.
And both Crystal and I try to live our lives this way, including the house that we live in. And the way we deal with our kids and the purchases that we make. We try our hardest to not just include God, that he has a vote, but let him direct us. Acknowledge him in all your ways, and he will direct your path. Again, we don't have to figure this out. We get to walk by faith. All my life I had people, saying, you gotta walk by faith and not by sight. You gotta walk by faith and not by sight. And it was a discipline. Now I see it as a gift. I get to walk by faith and not by sight. In other words, I don't have to figure things out. I get God to guide me. As long as I look to him, in all my ways, he will acknowledge. He will direct my path. So, I bought a truck. Well, I'm leasing a truck. And so here's the journey to that. First of all, Crystal and I talked about this a lot because it's quite the well, I was going to say investment, but my dad said a vehicle is never an investment. Never. And so it started with my former truck. Slowly but surely, it was 10 years old, and they don't make them like they used to. I mean, my 1985 Nissan King Cab was built with real metal. And I could get in there with the distributor and rotor and the wires, and I could change my own spark plugs and oil. And I remember as I got different vehicles, they got older. As soon as I couldn't reach the back spark plugs, and there's no more rotor or distributor, I don't know what I'm looking at. I stopped working on my own vehicles. Still do my own brakes, because that technology. Well, I bet you if I had my new truck, I bet you I couldn't do my new brakes. So, 10 years, and I got that truck off of the lot. Excuse me. And it was my opportunity to keep a truck for, to treat it well. And I treated it well. My kids used to say, you drive like an old man. Well, guess what? I don't corner as hard as you, and so my struts and my tie rods and my tires and everything. In 10 years, I only went through 2 sets of tires. It was on the second, but it was ready for new tires, so that was an investment. The suspension was starting to creak, both front and back. There's 6 flaps in the front behind the dashboard that tells the air where to go, defrost, or toes, or passenger side, and passenger and driver have it, and there were 6 flaps, I was told. And I replaced 4 of them over the years. And the one, I guess, opened straight up and when I went through the car wash, it filled something up with water. And so I got that flap fixed, but the damage was done. And so then my heater, so at the same time, this flap throws water in there, and then this is in the dead of winter, and then it was so hot, it was so cold, and I had an inspection in Windsor, and I had to drive the 401, and the truck was colder than the outside air because I'm going at 100 and a bit, and the cold air is cooling the metal, and so now I have the wind chill, and I'm driving in a wind chill, and my windshield cracks. It got so cold. And no heat. No defrost. So it was just as well that the inside was cold, because then it wouldn't condense on the windshield. Small favors, thank you very much. So my windshield has been cracking, and it cracked all the way along the bottom for the last 6 months, and then all the way up top on the passenger side, and then started to curl around. And I'm just waiting. I'm on the 401 all the time. God has blessed this business of mine, of ours, and I'm traveling a lot. And I just felt like at any time, this thing's not going to get me to where I need to be. And there were some other aches and pains and then the last week before I traded it in, it almost didn't start. And I bought a new battery, I think 2 years ago, at the top of the line battery, and I don't know if, because of my deliveries every Friday, if the battery was starting to can on me, I don't know. And the last day, I got in there and I went, and I thought, baby, you just need to go just later on today. So logistically, I can't be stranded, both with my business, because then that's a business loss, and these real estate agents are not the kindest when it comes to home inspections. They've got their offer, they have 3 days to get a home inspection and finance cleared from their clients, and they need to get this done. And my truck stranded me one time, and here I am, I called Crystal, and I'm running down King Street to get her car so I can drive back, put my ladders in her little car, and meanwhile the real estate, I'm calling him on the way, and he's angry at me. Oh, I can't believe it. And so I ended up getting there a half an hour late. Did the inspection, everything was good. He was happy. Let me get a bunch of your cards. I'm so sorry, your truck, blah, blah, blah. You're okay now because you got your shiny inspection. Anyway, the truck cannot let me down. On the other hand, because I'm a small business owner, the government is going to take 40% of taxes, or around there, correct? My accountant is sitting in the second row. And so I get to either give that money to the government, or I get to spend it to better my business. So that's why I'm leasing this truck and not purchasing it, so that it would be 100% write-off. So technically, I'm not spending any money, even though I'm spending a lot of money. I got to remind myself, technically, I'm not. So what I'm getting at with this long, lengthy explanation is logistically it made sense. But that's not where Crystal and I are. We don't want logistically it makes sense. We want is God in it. God, if you don't go with us, we won't go. If you don't want me to have this truck, I won't go. I wasn't looking to get a new truck. I was looking to invest in my old truck and get it back to working order, new tires, new suspension, get a new windshield, and spend about, $3,000 or $4,000 to get it back so that it's not going to fail me. So it's not like this truck because this is important. This new truck is an idol to me, and I'm constantly checking myself. So Crystal and I have been praying about it. Excuse me. Every time we talk about it, it was, we don't have a check in our spirit about it. We feel a peace about pursuing this. Then I went to the car lot, and I know this is going to sound like a typical salesman thing, but this salesman, you got to remember. So I bought a Honda, and my daughter is the head marketer, and our son is the head service manager. So we know all the staff, and the manager, Todd, he's been at our worship gathering, and he's become a friend of ours. So I got a good deal. I was in an inspection, and my daughter texted me and said, "Hey, there's donations at Honda waiting for you for street light. Can you come and pick them up?" I said, "Great, I'll be there later today." Well, she texted me again, apparently, because when I got to Honda at the end of the day, or mid-afternoon, she greets me at the door, and she says, "Didn't get my other text?" I said, "No." She said, "Donations are on your front porch. I just decided to take them there at lunch." I went, "Oh." So now I'm at Honda for no reason, except to say hi to my kids. She goes, "Hey, do you want to test drive that truck you've been talking about?" I said, "Sure." So grabbed the keys, got in this truck, just went around a small block, and I liked it. Then she goes, "Why don't you just talk to Chris, the head salesman guy?" And we had talked back at Rib Fest when Honda had their tent. We had free ribs, and we got talking about the possibility of trading in. So he goes, "Yeah, come on in." And we've been trying to connect for a few months, but here I am accidentally. Test drove the thing. Now I'm sitting in his office, and he goes, "Well, here's how much it would be to lease this truck." And I said, "I'd like one all blacked out. Black rims, black, you know what I mean, all blacked out." And that's the one regret with my previous truck. I've been looking for black rims on sale for 10 years. Because I just like that look. He goes, "That'll be an extra $50 a month." I said, "Let's do it." So he goes on his computer, he goes, "This never happens." But we've already ordered an all blacked out Passport, is what it's called, and it's going to be here at the end of October. He says, "We've already ordered the truck." Okay, because sometimes it can take up to a year to get some of these vehicles. I went, "Okay." He goes, "Why don't you go over to the accountant and just see if she can work out some numbers?" Okay. I'm there accidentally, remember. I test drive. I'm now in the salesman office. Now I'm in the accountant's office, and I just went, Lord, one of the things, Lord, if I'm not approved, because I'm a small business owner and had been working under the table before that, I didn't have a justifiable income. I didn't think. Well, she texts me the next day and says, "You're all approved." Okay, so Crystal and I talked again. We don't feel God seems to be in it, because we're like, the other thing about leasing is if God's not in it, I could be without a vehicle. Because with my other truck, I owned it. No one's gonna, if I miss a payment, no one's gonna come and say, "You missed a payment, give us the keys." So it's just a different risk factor. So God, you have to be with it. You have to be with us on this. So the whole time we just kept saying we feel like God's in it. So then I said, "Let's go for it." So the truck is now earmarked for me. And last week, 2 weeks ago now, it was a Thursday, and I had 3 inspections of that week. Now, 3 inspections just pays the bills for the month, if I did that each week. 2 does not cut it. So I'm at an inspection, at the second inspection of that week, Thursday, and I had one for Friday afternoon. Well, I get a phone call from that client. There's a furnace issue. They're putting in a new furnace. I need to cancel that inspection, postpone it till later. So I'm like, no problem at all. You know, everything happens for a reason. So now I'm down to 2 inspections that don't pay the bills. And as far as renovations, I've dried that up. I got nothing on because I haven't had to. So I'm down to 2 inspections. Then within minutes, I got a text. Bing, your truck is in. Okay. 2 inspections. And so I start getting nervous. All that evening, I'm going, Lord, I don't know what to do. I need to make sure you're in it. Wake up the next morning. I'm walking through the yard, getting ready for street lights. We're going out that afternoon. And I'm pacing the backyard. I said, Lord, I need to put a fleece out. Let me talk about a fleece real quick. This is going to be, first of all, the title of my message is, if it's God. You got that? And then go to Judges chapter, I believe it's 5 and 6. 6 and 7. This is the story of Gideon. I've preached on this, but in case people don't know or remember the story, let me paraphrase it. Amongst a whole bunch of other things, Gideon actually, the angel of the Lord comes to Gideon and says, I want you to fight the Midians. He's hiding out. All of Israel is hiding out because the Midians, it says they were as numerous as locusts. And Israel would have all of their crops out, and the Midians would just come in with all their army and just trample everything. So Gideon is hiding out. The angel of the Lord comes and says, I want you to raise up an army, and I want you to fight the Midians. He goes, excuse me, sir, but I think you got the wrong guy. Well, I feel like preaching that, but I won't. There's so much to that. I can go down a bunch of different roads. So Gideon says, can you just show me that what you're saying is truly the right way to go, that you're truly who you say you are? And the guy goes, the angel of the Lord says, yeah, for sure. So Gideon goes and gets some bread and some meat and prepares it and serves it to this guy. Well, this angel of the Lord gets his staff and he touches both the bread and the meat with the end of his staff, and it consumes it. And then he disappears. And Gideon goes, he was from the Lord. He gave me a sign. So then later, other things happen that kind of rocked Gideon's boat a little bit. And he goes to the Lord and he says, can I put out a fleece to make sure that this is truly you that wants me to go to battle? So and God says, for sure. So in the threshing floor, which I picture concrete, but I don't know, it would have been a hard surface because they're threshing wheat on it. And he puts this fleece, this ram, whatever it was, in the middle, and he says to the Lord, if that's soaking wet in the morning from dew and everything else is dry, then I'll know you're with me. So, wakes up the next morning, that's exactly what happens. Soaking wet fleece, the ground is dry. Then he says, pardon me, Lord, but if we could just do this one more time, only next morning the dew will soak the ground, but the fleece will be completely dry. And by the way, the fleece, he wrung it out and filled like 3 bucketfuls of water. I mean, there was no question, and everything else was dry. And God goes, yeah, no problem. Next morning, sure enough, the fleece is completely dry. The ground is soaking wet. Scientific impossibility. Gideon goes, great, I know. So here I am Friday morning, panicking because I had 3 and now I'm down to 2. And now I'm not sure what to do about this truck because Saturday morning, the next day, 10 o'clock, I'm supposed to go and sign all the papers. Whew. Lord, can I put out a fleece? there was no answer necessarily. So I said, if I can I'm going to go and do your will, by the way, and I'm going to be out there feeding people with Streetlight. Remember me? I'm the guy that's doing that good stuff to the least of these, right? And it wasn't quite like that. But I said, if I can get 2 inspections booked by the end of the day, then I'll know you're with me, and I'll feel confident. It wasn't about the truck or not the truck. It was about, God, I need to know that you're with me. 2 inspections. Wandered a bit more in my backyard. I went, no, a fleece needs to be a miracle. 4 inspections. If I've never booked 4 inspections in a day, if I book 4 inspections, then I'll know you're with me, and I'll be confident to sign those papers the next morning. Wanted a bit more, and I've been wondering what word I could use to describe how I felt God was feeling. And the only thing I can come up with is indignant. What do you mean, Chris? You need a fleece. Have you not been pursuing me all along, and have I not given you confidence? And given you a little bit of sign here and there. The truck's already ordered. You went in, I had you go to Honda under false pretenses so that we could get the deal done. Have you not seen me? Have we not walked together in this? Has your wife not been in agreement with this? And now you need a fleece because the financial numbers don't add up? Ooh, boy. Okay, forget the fleece. I'm going to sign the papers tomorrow. Because I felt, and I just said, Lord, even if I'm completely mistaken and this isn't you, then I'm doing this because I was saying, Lord, this is either a lack of wisdom or this is an act of faith. That you are going to continue to bless the business, and this is faith that you're with me in the business as well as, getting this truck was an act of faith. So I went, okay, no fleeces. I'm going to sign. And then as I wandered, I said, Lord, what just happened there? Like, Gideon had a sign, then asked for another sign, fleece number 1, and then another sign, fleece number 2. Why could he do it and I couldn't? And I felt the Lord take me to Matthew chapter 5, verse 33 to 37. Matthew chapter 5, verse 33 to 37. It's Matthew chapter 5. Sorry, I must have given you some of that. Yeah, actually that scripture's later. Sorry, I gave you the wrong one. So Matthew chapter 5, verse 33 to 37. We'll just leave that one there. And this is Jesus. Matthew chapter 5 and 6 is the Sermon on the Mount, the Beatitudes and all that stuff. He says, again, you have heard that it was said to those of old, you shall not swear falsely, but shall perform your oaths to the Lord. But I say to you, do not swear at all, neither by heaven, for it is God's throne, nor by earth, for it is his footstool, nor by Jerusalem, for it is the city of the great King. Nor shall you swear by your head, because you cannot make one hair white or black. Tell me about it. But let your yes be yes, and your no be no. For whatever is more than these is from the evil one. So what's happening here is in the Old Testament, under the Old Covenant, people would make a declaration, and then they would swear by it. And that was what they were to do. I swear by the God of heaven, and God would even do that. He would say, I swear by my own name, because there is nothing higher than my name. And so this swearing, and even as I say that, you have to redefine that word, because swearing means something different in our culture than what it means in the Bible. Okay? Swearing is saying an oath, taking an oath. And in the old covenant, that's what happened, both people and God. Jesus comes on the scene about to break open the new covenant under his blood, and one of the directives he says here in Matthew 5 is, no more swearing or making oaths. Technically, that's saying I promise, by the way, is swearing, biblically. But instead he says, there's a new way. Let your yes mean yes, and your no mean no. Anything else is from the evil one. And I believe as much as he was giving that directive to people, because swearing was under the old covenant both for people and God, that's now no longer for people and God. Now in the new covenant, it's for people, let your yes mean yes and your no mean no. And for God, he is saying, and this is the crux of this whole message, when I say yes, it's yes. And when I say no, it's no. That's why I was not to put out a fleece. God had already said yes. And here I am questioning. Oh, just give me a sign. Give me another sign. And it reminded me of Matthew 12, verses 38 and 40, where Jesus says, then some of the Pharisees and teachers of the law said to Jesus, Teacher, we want to see a sign from you. He answered, a wicked and adulterous generation asks for a sign. But none will be given it except the sign of the prophet Jonah. For as Jonah was 3 days and 3 nights in the belly of a huge fish, so the Son of Man will be 3 days and 3 nights in the heart of the earth. So you notice how he says, no more signs. No more signs. And then what does he point to? The opening up of the new covenant. His death and resurrection. Isn't that amazing? And so now, it's not about, and hear me out, I'm not preaching against fleeces. God and I have done that. Lord, if this happens, then I know I'm going to move forward. And I think he's okay with that. But not when he's already said yes. That's the problem. And like I said, the conclusion of every good message is, walk with God. Acknowledge him in all your ways. So I went Tuesday after receiving the grocery truck. Thank you, Cheryl and Lisa, and everyone else who helps out. Randall helps out with that. Received the grocery truck, loaded up the tent, and it's time to go get my new truck. And so I picked up my daughter Gracie, and we got it. Went out for lunch after to celebrate. Then the next morning, I'm still. Then Crystal and I went for a little bit of a drive around that night. And just grateful, but more than grateful, I'm humbled. I'm humbled that God would give that, and that truck is a gift from God. And that's so different than you giving yourself a gift. So the next morning, I look out. There it is. And I'm just about ready, so I get my keys, press one button, then hold the other button, and the truck lights up as if to say, "Good morning, Chris." And it starts. It was a cold morning. So I walk up to the truck, still a little bit dark because I had to, it was rainy that day, and so I knew I had 2 inspections. I thought, I can't put wet ladders in this new truck. What's going to be open at 7 in the morning? Because I had to travel to Windsor for 9 o'clock. Walmart. So I went to Walmart and bought this nice black blanket that I could put on my nice baby. So it was dark, all that to say. And I walk out to this truck that's already running. And as I approach the truck, because I have the keys in my pocket, it senses me and it lights up just this nice little glow. As if to say, come on, let's go for a drive. And then I grab the handle and it unlocks. And it glows just a little bit more. I open the door. I get in. Ooh. He heated the seats for me. Then I press the start button and the glow dims and the dashboard goes. I put my phone on the charger and the screen comes up. My calendar is there. I press inspection and it all of a sudden opens the map so that it can take me there. So I don't hit the drive set. I press the button D, bing, for drive. And I put my hands on the steering wheel. Oh, it's warm. And I start to drive away. And as I drove away, as I drove away, the truck said to me, "Good morning, Chris. What would you like for breakfast?" No, it didn't. But as I drove away, the best thought of the morning was that this was from God. And I knew it. And He was spoiling me. Which doesn't always happen. The Bible is very clear. He's not interested in our comfort, but He is our dad. And just every once in a while, He'll do that. But the nicest thing was for me to be confident that what I was driving in was God's will for my life. And I'm telling you, whether you're driving in an old car or driving up to an old house or a new house, for you to be in constant dialogue with God, to understand that when He says yes, it's yes, and He will not change His mind. That reminded me of Numbers 23, God is not a human that He should lie. And nothing pleases Him more than, "Good morning, God, what do you want to do today? Guide my steps. I am yours. I have a plan, but your plan is better. And send me there." And you don't have to be asking for sign after sign after sign after sign. If you know that God has said yes, go. If you know that God has said no, turn. That's it. Just know that there is a better way of life than you trying to figure it out yourself. God, if you're not with us, we will not go. And if I know that it is you, I will go boldly and with full confidence, knowing that if God is for me, who can be against me? No weapon formed against me will prosper. And if I have acknowledged God, He is directing my path. And we can be confident of that.